explode up, make it come all at the same time.
This is the Rick Chamberlin Show, an up-close look at Dayton Flyers football through the eyes of the coach.
Get width and depth, square up, that's it.
Now, here's your host, Mike Hartzell.
Right there, that's it. Good
morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rick Chamberlin Show as the Flyers get back at it after a bye week. And that bye week turned out to be not such good luck because a Marist team came in and played very well and got out of town with a win yesterday.
They did, Mike, and we knew going in that they were a very good football team. Had just beaten Georgetown out of the Patriot League at Georgetown, and they were starting to roll now, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, and we just did not execute. It was not a pretty game for the Flyers at all.
My vote for player of the year so far in the Pioneer League is Chucky Looney, outstanding quarterback.
And Mike, watching the film all week, getting ready for it, the big concern was about him really being on top of his game. He's a playmaker, whether you're talking about throwing the ball, about running the ball, making decisions. I don't think he made a bad decision all day.
It may be an unfair comparison, but sort of reminds you of Steve Valentino, the way he gets out of trouble and does things with his feet that opens up all parts of the game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. That's the same thing I was saying all week. I said, gosh, he looks like Valentino back there. And the only problem was we only had to go against Valentino in camp. We had to do it during a regular season. He's quite a player there.
Marist comes in, a team that you said had knocked off Georgetown. Your team coming off a bye week. Coaches vary in their feelings on bye weeks. Slows down momentum, lets you get healthy. What about the momentum thing? Does it slow things down a little bit?
I didn't think it slowed down things. It helped us health-wise, especially. We got some guys that got healthy and were able to play there. It may have been a little stale for us there, but the way the game started off, boy, we jumped up on it, and defensively we were playing well. Offensively we were playing well. Just couldn't maintain it. They took over and started making plays.
Well, let's check out the highlights. Beautiful day for football. Parents Week, 5,100 folks in the stands, and they had plenty to cheer about early on because Will Bardo calling his own number here on the scramble and going down inside the Marist 20-yard line.
I thought Will made a great decision there, and of course he's one of our fastest players and got us inside the 20 now.
Had a couple opportunities. Here you go to Brandon Johnson in the end zone, just tipped away, so why not try it again this time over the middle for the touchdown?
Yes, a very good pass by Will there between two defenders right on the money.
So the Flyers go up 7-0 early. They were playing well offensively, playing well defensively. The run stop here.
Yeah, but as I said at the start of the game, everything was clicking for the Flyers.
Then you get a handoff on the outside. Connor Kasser bouncing it, turning it up, getting down to about the 22-yard line. Flyers had some trouble getting it in the end zone a couple of times. You throw right there, just tipped away.
Yeah, the Marist defender made a very good play there. Will made a good throw, and here he made another good throw to Washington.
Robert Washington gets the ball on the handoff, dives for the end zone, fumbles it, loose ball in the end zone. Washington got on it for the touchdown.
Yeah, Robert usually doesn't leap like that, and the guy put his helmet right on the ball, but fortunate enough that our guy scrummed for it and got it.
So 2 minutes left to play in the first quarter. You're up by 13 and playing real well. Here's a tough call right here on fourth down. They don't get the first down. Then Flyers can't move it. Here comes Chucky Looney starting to run the football.
Yes, this is later in the second quarter there, and we missed tackles. And then all at once we got a penalty here, which gave him 15 more yards.
A late hit gets it down deep into Flyer territory. Handoff up the middle, and they find the end zone for the first down.
They did. There was a bad defensive front that we were in, and they executed.
So it's 13-7 ball game, about 4 minutes left to play, and Will Bardo trying to make something happen with his feet and does so. Gets out around midfield before he's pushed out of bounds. The Flyers trying to make something happen. They couldn't, had to give up the ball. Here comes Looney again, scrambling, finding a receiver, thought he had a receiver, and there's another flag for interference.
We had 8 penalties, Mike, yesterday for 84 yards, which is not any good no matter who you play.
Great defense there, though, as Nick Weston comes up with an interception at the goal line.
Yeah, they still had about a minute left, and with Chucky Looney at quarterback, you never know what can happen.
So the Flyers go into the locker room leading 13-7. Opportunities early, but then the offense kind of went stagnant.
We did, Mike, and that was one of the disappointments I thought out of our game yesterday. One disappointment on defense was missed tackles, so opportunities to make plays, and we didn't. The other disappointment was our offense and not sustaining drives. Other than those first couple drives we had, there was a lot of 3 and outs, and you just can't do that in a game.
One thing to point out going into this game, you were a little bit short-handed. Gary Hunter didn't play. He's nursing a hamstring issue.
Yes, Gary still is nursing that hamstring, and he's one of our slot receivers that we can get the ball to and can make some big plays. Big thing about Gary is his kick returning,
right,
both as a punter and a kickoff man. So you lose a little bit there. And then Ben Esty, our starting tackle at left and captain, he still is unable to play because of a leg injury.
All right, let's go back out second half action with the Flyers nursing a 13-7 lead and trying to hold on to this thing. An inside handoff. Nice bit of running here as they pick up some big ground. This is on the opening drive of the second half.
Opening drive there. We missed a tackle on a blitz, and then here Chucky gets running, and he just outruns our guys.
And almost gets in as he dives toward the goal line. They spot him down at about the 1-yard line, and they get in fairly easily, breaking away from 3 tacklers.
Yep.
Diving in, they take a 1-point lead.
Yeah, I think that leap by Chucky showed you how competitive he is.
14-13 our score. Will Bardo going back to work. The pass over the middle is completed, and the Flyers in business at midfield.
Yeah, we started moving the ball here. Great catch by Ross Smith and then Robert Watson on some runs. So we're moving now. So it's good to see.
Bardo faking an option, then dropping back, had a receiver, but it was double coverage, and it was picked off at the goal line.
I thought Will had someone in his face and made a bad decision there by just throwing it up. He should have just taken the sack at that point.
Here they come with a first down as they start to move the football, moving it down the field to the 10-yard line. Looney looking around, finding a receiver out on a screen pass, dives for it, but he had his foot back at the 4-yard line, out of bounds, so that's inside the 5-yard line. Then Looney again, scrambling around in traffic, throws it up in the air, and tough play, good defense on 4th down.
Good defense by Kyle Sabetic there, stopped him from scoring, so we're still within the game here.
1-point ball game as we head into the final quarter. Here's Will trying to find something, but their defense was really swarming.
They're always a great defense. Their defensive end is a preseason All-American.
Over the middle, Looney hits a receiver to midfield. They start driving it a little bit, starting to feel some momentum, some confidence as the visiting team. Here's a big scramble.
This is the killer. We were in a man defense here, so you got people with their backs to him, and he takes off, and we missed the tackle right there at the 5.
Gets into the end zone for the touchdown. That makes a 1-point lead, an 8-point lead. They get an interception for a touchdown on the next Flyer possession, and then Will's trying to make something happen, almost picked off again over the middle.
Yeah, I thought Will started forcing things, and then here we missed tackle up front, and they're really good running back here, gets a lot of yardage here, and the big thing was time. That ate up time.
This set up a back-breaking field goal as they kick it up and in. 31 to it was 31-13 at this point. So you put Luke Johnson into the ball game to maybe try to get a spark going, and he does.
He does. Luke came in. We thought Will was off on his passing, and so we said, let's go with Luke here. And so Luke came in, hit some nice ones for us there, got us down to eventually a score.
And the score was good news, bad news, because Brandon Johnson makes a great catch, taking it away from the defender for the touchdown, but you saw him come down on that shoulder, and the shoulder is separated, correct?
Yeah. Well, the collarbone broken.
Collarbone broken, so he's
in
done.
surgery today.
He's in surgery
today, and so very unfortunate.
There you see him in some pain. The onside kick doesn't work, and they take the victory formation and down it. And on the scoreboard, the Flyers end up falling 31-20 to a Marist team that seems to be getting better every week, and a Marist team that put 488 yards of offense on you.
I tell you, and it's all about Chucky Looney. I mean, he made some great throws there and his running and so forth, and we've been playing good defense up to that against good offenses there, but when you don't tackle, Mike, you're going to give up big yards.
Okay, you just get Brandon Johnson back a couple of games ago, and now, I mean, is done for the season?
He's done for the season. He is. With the surgery and so forth, there's no way. But That means that Corey Stewart, Ross Smith, Colin McManaman, we've got him back now. He had an Achilles problem. This is just his first game back, and so we got some depth there. They just have to make plays now, just like Brandon.
All right, slow start to the Pioneer Football League season for the Flyers, but there's still 7 games left to play. When we come back, we'll talk about the offense and defensive lines. That and more in just a couple of minutes, so don't go away. Welcome back to the Rick Chamberlin Show. And Coach, of course, everybody talks about in the trenches, but they only notice the guys in the trenches when something goes wrong. Those guys usually don't get a lot of credit, do they?
They don't. But I tell you, if you're not good up front, you're not going to win very many games. And we've been fortunate with our defensive line and our offensive line to have good players in there that really play well.
Now, the defensive linemen are going to get more credit than the offensive linemen because they can get to the quarterback and sack a guy. And one of the guys that did that very well for you last year is Pat Dowd.
Pat Dowd, he led the PFL in sacks last season. There was first team all conference there. He's here for his senior year, and he's off to a good start. He doesn't have as many sacks right now, but it's still early, and I know Pat will start coming around.
Had a chance to talk with Pat Dowd about his role on the defensive line and his role as a senior now with the Dayton Flyers.
It's been tough and it's been easy if you really think about it. Obviously it takes a lot of hard work, but just with this program, they really reward you for sticking with it and for working hard in the offseason in the weight room, and that's something I pride myself in. And especially with this coaching staff, as good as they are, if you have potential, then they'll pull it out of you, and I think that's really what they've done with me.
Pat Dowd has made a habit of disrupting opposing offensive attacks. First team All-Pioneer League last season. He led the Flyers in sacks with 8.5, all but one of those coming in the last 6 games of the season.
Honestly, a lot of people say pass rush is 90% effort and 10% technique, but that 10% is incredibly important, getting their hands off you and using your feet well and things like that. And that's a big thing that Coach McCoy has done for us, I think. He's done a great job of really drilling that technique into our heads and just making us better at that, and making sure we're giving the right effort. He really demands a lot out of us in practice and things like that, and I think we're starting to see that on the field a little bit more.
Like most of the Flyer linemen, Dowd is not going to overwhelm you with his size, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I've never really felt at a disadvantage. I did put on a little bit of weight for this year. I'm almost up to about 250 now, so that's helped in the run game, especially with these big tackles, but even with gaining the weight, I've always felt a little bit quicker than those guys, so that's good. Having quicker feet and better explosion off the ball than them, that helps you get around them and things like that. So it can help and it can hurt. I've honestly been playing defensive end since 5th grade, and I didn't really like it at first. I wanted to play linebacker. Even when I went to play in high school, I tried to play linebacker, but they moved me down because we needed it, and I fell in love with the position. I think it's the most fun position in football because you're always in the play. There's no play that you can't make. Even downfield, if you hustle, a long pass, you can get there and make the play. And sacking the quarterback's a lot of fun too.
There's not that much difference between a defensive end and a linebacker sometimes.
There isn't. I mean, we've taken linebackers out of high school and made them defensive ends at our position there because they've got to be athletic. They got to have some size. We even drop them in pass coverage in our zone blitzes. So Pat's a good fit there.
Yeah, look at a guy like that and has gone from being your scout team player of the year when he was younger to a guy like what he's done now.
Yeah, I think that just showed you. We have our team vote on those scout team players, and they could see the potential in Pat even when he was a freshman. Just need to get a little bit bigger and stronger there, and he's done all that we've asked of him.
Okay, when we come back, we'll go from the defensive side of the football up front to the offensive side. This guy in the center of attention. That and more when the Rick Chamberlin Show continues, so don't go away. You know, Coach, we talk all the time about in the Flyer football program, waiting your turn, biding your time. You see it year after year after year. And a perfect example, I think, this season is Grant Georgic, your center.
It is. Grant has been in our program for 4 years. This is his senior year, and this is his first year that he is starting for us there. And we want our players to develop over their 4 years mentally and physically, and that's what Grant has done. And he's behind a couple very good centers here his 3 years that he was here prior to this year. But what makes Grant so good is he's so smart up there. Centers make the calls, Mike. I mean, they're telling the blocking scheme by what type of defensive front we're seeing, and we're in good hands with Grant up there because he doesn't make the wrong decisions.
Yeah, because that's one of those positions where, okay, size and strength and everything matter a lot, but it's one of those mental things maybe outweighs the physical sometimes.
It does, because Grant will tell you he's not the biggest guy. He's probably our smallest offensive lineman, but very football smart up there and recognizing fronts and picking up blitzes and so forth. And he just uses his ability that he can get the job done.
Grant Georgic has always been a center. That position is nothing new to him. We talked about it during practice last week.
It is an interesting position. You're starting with the ball every play. You touch the ball every play. Very few people can say that. It's a blessing, and it's sometimes difficult. I got to snap the ball, on a certain cadence, or the play's not going to go. If I botch a snap, then our offense can't run. So yeah, it's a little interesting.
Georgic is no stranger to being in the middle of things. He played center all through high school and was team MVP his senior season at Buckeye Valley. As you might expect, though, the position is a bit more of a challenge in college.
I would say the biggest difference between playing center in college and high school is in college you are kind of the air traffic controller of the offense. You're kind of responsible for identifying the front, making sure everyone knows what defense they're in and what calls will precede that. Week to week, formations will change, techniques will change, and how we'll block back, block to certain fronts. So it does take some study to get used to the different things a defense can throw at you, and it's a challenge each week.
Grant is getting his first real action for the Flyers this season, playing the waiting game that is never easy.
I was patient. I know the guys before me had to do the same thing. I knew my role on the team, and my role was at any moment I have to be ready to, put the helmet on and get out there. I wasn't called in too many times in the years past, but there's something to be said with the program that we have that you aren't going to jump in there right away. You gotta go through the course and make sure you know what you're doing and such, and be patient.
After redshirting as a freshman, Georgic has one more season to play if he wants it, but that's a choice that is tough to make.
Part of me, it's tough to give this up because the camaraderie, being around football is a great thing, but also another part of me is kind of getting close to wanting to move on, start my profession, which is teaching and coaching at some point. So it's a choice that's going to be made in the next 2-3 months.
Interesting, teacher, coach, and we talked about it. He and I talked about the fact that being a guy who wants to be a coach, he at practice and games will watch what you guys are doing and try to pick stuff up, and that's important.
It is, and we've had education majors throughout our program for over the years there, and they've gone on to be very good coaches, both in high school and in college, and we just hope to give them a good foundation, something that they can learn from, that they can take with them there and incorporate in their coaching career later.
His intelligence probably would lead him to be a pretty good coach.
I think he will be. I think he'll be a very good O-line coach.
All right, we're going to continue on the Rick Chamberlin Show in just a couple of minutes. The Flyers need to bounce back, but they are at home again next week. Davidson comes to town. We'll talk about that and take a look at the Pioneer Football League Week 1 when the Rick Chamberlin Show continues. Welcome back to the Rick Chamberlin Show. And Coach, Davidson Wildcat team that comes to town that's off to an 0-4 start. They're struggling a little bit.
They're struggling right now. They got a new coach, Mike. He's an alum. He played against the Flyers back in the early 2000. He was a quarterback for him there, Paul Nichols. And so he's trying to get his program going. And transition always takes a little bit of time there. What you're going to see, though, from Davidson are very bright young men who play hard. Physically, they may not be the same matchup as the rest of the PFL, but you got to be on top of your game because they're going to be on top of it.
And you look at this team coming in as we take a look at the matchup. It's 1 o'clock on Saturday. Davidson's 0-4. Dayton is 2-2. But you're a team that licking some wounds a little bit, both literally and physically.
Physically, and we are, Mike. I mean, that was a disappointment yesterday. It really was. I could see it in the players' faces. They knew they didn't play well, and in the PFL, you better be ready every single week. And Davidson, no matter what the record is, we're going to be ready. And the big thing for us is to show again how we were playing the first 3 games and get back to that mode there.
Okay, so the Flyers getting ready to get back into it. But week 1 of the Pioneer Football League is in the books, and let's take a look at some other scores. Moorhead beat Davidson 45-14. I think that was at Moorhead. Butler and Jacksonville. Jacksonville got out to an early lead, but Butler came back.
They did. At one point, it was 27-13, and then Butler came back and scored 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Looking at some other games, Valparaiso and Campbell, that was 49-42. Valpo beat Campbell, and you look at the way those teams play. One score that we don't see up there is Mercer and Drake, and Mercer is playing really well right now.
Mercer's undefeated, Mike. They're the new member of our conference out of Macon, Georgia, and they're actually going to be in our conference 1 year. They made the decision this summer that they're going to go to the Southern Conference because Appalachian State and Georgia Southern left that, and so they're going scholarships. They're going 63 scholarships. Now, they're not giving scholarships this year. They said they wouldn't, but I'm sure that was attractive to some awfully good football players.
So a Mercer team that the Flyers don't see at all, and you won't see them.
We won't see them. Yeah. We were looking forward to going down to Georgia, playing down there, because Atlanta is now becoming a good recruiting area for us for both the school and the football team. But we got 7 more opponents that we've got to be ready for.
Okay, and the first of those is Davidson. Health-wise, well, that's a work in progress. Just cross your fingers.
Yep. We hope that Ben Esty will be available this week, even though Zach Morgan, a redshirted freshman, has been playing well. He really has the last 2 games here, and we get him going there. Brandon Johnson, we already talked about him. He's going to be out. But Colin McManaman is back now. He had an Achilles injury that Saturday was his first game back. So we just got to have people step up, Mike, and be ready to play and help us win some games.
All right, Dayton and Davidson, Saturday at 1 o'clock. You can listen to Larry Hanskin and Coach Kelly live on News Talk 1290 WHIO Radio. Coach Chamberlain and I will be back next Sunday to talk about it on the Rick Chamberlin Show. Have a great week, everybody.